Alrighty guys, today we're going to be going over my review of Maison Asrar Vision coming in at a 100 ml eau de parfum. This one got popular pretty much instantly because of comparisons to Louis Vuitton Pacific Chill, which is one of the more popular Louis Vuitton scents, obviously summer oriented, as is most of the main popular ones, Afternoon Swim, Imagination, L'Immensité, and so on. Pacific Chill is yet another one that is very much in that realm of just bright, fresh, sour, punchy lime. And so the problem with it, of course, is the price point. It is impossible to get Louis Vuitton at a discount, so you're stuck paying over $300 for a bottle. What I'm going to be doing is covering a clone, what I believe to be a really solid clone of Pacific Chill, coming in at a much lower price point. Now, I will preface this by saying this is not cheap in the sense of being $20 to $30. This is more around $50. So, you know, a little bit more than what a lot of clones go for these days. But sometimes that increase in cost could be warranted or justified. I believe it to be the case today, and I'll go over that. So let's dive right into how this one smells. When you first spray it on, you get hit with that punchy, sour, vibrant lime immediately. Make no mistake, I want to get this clear. It is a lime bomb off the opening, as is Pacific Chill. And I'll tell you, not everybody will like that. It's punchy. It's really, really powerful. And sometimes, you know, lime can be kind of an interesting one because it is so overbearing and can be so over the top. Not everybody necessarily might want to smell like that. It's completely different than a bergamot or apple or grapefruit or something, which a lot of the times, depending on how it's used, can be a little bit more mild, and most of the time is more mild. That is not the case here. So let's read off the full note breakdown. Okay, we got lime, blackcurrant, orange, and lemon up top. In the mid, we have basil, white tea, and coriander. In the base, we have musk, ambergris, and moss. Oak moss, whatever you want to call it. So you're definitely seeing some similarities to Pacific Chill in terms of the note breakdown, but what about the scent? I have to say that the opening does smell remarkably close to Pacific Chill. They pretty much nailed that as far as that citric, punchy lime lemon combination off the opening. It's strong. You know, when I first tried Pacific Chill, it wasn't one of my favorites, actually. It was slotting in kind of towards the bottom of my list out of the bulk majority of the main lineup, the ones I just mentioned, and then there was a few others, California Dream, City of Stars, and all of that stuff, right? It was kind of at the bottom at first. I don't know, I wasn't fully feeling it yet. Again, it's all that lime. I'm telling you, it is punchy, and it takes some getting used to. I think we're just not used to seeing that or smelling that note as much. We're so used to the very common grapefruit, bergamot, apple, usage and combination that's used all over the place. And lime kind of can throw you off sometimes. As I spent more time with Pacific Chill, just smelling it so often, almost every day, it started to grow on me quite a bit and was kind of leading me to want to start looking into some clones just to grab something that I could wear and get essentially the same effect from without using the real bottle. And after kind of playing around with things for a while and figuring out where I wanted to start, I landed on this one, and I'm glad I did. You know, this really hammers home that Pacific Chill smell to me. So it opens up with that lemon lime. We've established that at this point. The dry down is pretty consistent as well. So basically the scent maintains kind of a citrusy green smell from start to finish. And so you start getting some of that oak moss in the dry down, some of that ambroxan that you would come to expect, as it's a pretty common note in fresh scents, whether it's used or not. It's a nice combination. Some musk also, a nice clean, slightly soapy bed of musk that everything just kind of lies on top of is how it kind of feels to me. It does start to smooth out. Again, that opening, it's kind of a bit much sometimes, but as you continue to wear through it, things settle down a little bit, and a lot of people might think that it's more enjoyable in the mid to dry down. You do get a little bit of that basil, kind of adding to an aromatic feel, a bit of tea as well, not a lot. What I do pick up on though is some of the coriander, which kind of gives it just the slightest bit of this watery feel too. Definitely not an aquatic scent by any means, but it just kind of lightens things up a little bit more as well. You know, when you take a look at the top notes again, kind of going back to that, you see a black currant and an orange, and I do get a little bit of the black currant. Not so much the orange, but that black currant, it kind of adds a bit of a sweet fruitiness to the very citric and sour citrus opening that you get. So that does help to give you at least the illusion of a little bit of a balance. So as I mentioned earlier on in the video, this is an eau de parfum. It is a 100 ml bottle. Might not look like it, but it is, according to the bottle in the box. The longevity on this one was actually impressive. So when it comes to things like this, it's simply just hit or miss. You know, it's just no other way to cut it, really with anything in general. But generally, when you take a look at bright citrus scents, it's a shot in the dark. Whereas at least if you're looking at a winter scent, something with a bunch of honey, tobacco, and incense, and rum, and oud, you kind of just expect it to last long. And most of the time it does. Stuff like this, you just never know until you try it, and it's dependent person to person. For me, I've had great luck, and it seems like I'm not the only one either. When you look around, a lot of people seem to be getting pretty good longevity out of this one. It's not quite to the level of 12, 14 hours on me. It's not to that level of beast mode, but it is a nice 8-9 hour longevity performer, which is really plenty for me. Some people hope for more, and that's, you know, fair enough. But in that 8-9 hour mark, I'm happy with that. Projection is soft, though. I will say that. It kind of surprised me with how soft the projection was, because when you smell that opening, man, it's just it just completely goes off and really gets your attention. But you would be surprised at how quickly this one does settle down and get closer to your skin after you get off of that opening. So some people might be a little bit let down with that projection part. Not a huge issue for me, because I kind of prefer less projection and better trail. But again, it was a surprise. I was expecting this to be more of a loud scent, but it's not really. At the end of the day, you just kind of got to pick your battles. You know, do you want to spend the $330 plus tax and everything on the Louis Vuitton, or do you want to save a big chunk of money and go for something like this? And maybe you have to do a few extra sprays, or maybe you have to, you know, carry a small sample with you, or whatever it might be, depending on where you're going and what you're doing. That's just something that you have to make the decision for on your own. For me, this is a very acceptable alternative to Pacific Chill. As far as accuracy level, I hate putting a number on that, because I feel like it's not a scientific thing, and it's hard to keep a consistent scale. But if I had to throw a number out there, I would say 85%. Close. You know, there are definitely some differences. It lacks some of that depth as you get into the mid and dry down, so I have to give credit to the Louis Vuitton. The quality and the complexity of the scent, Louis Vuitton takes the cake, which I would hope so for the price. There's no comparison there. This one does fall flat a little bit in that area, but overall it still is wildly similar. And really, how critical can you be? At some point, you kind of have to give credit where credit's due and say, you know what, yeah, this isn't quite as close in some aspects, but for the money, it still more than gets the job done. You can grab this one at Joma Shop. I will drop a link down below, and let me know down below, what is your favorite Louis Vuitton fragrance? If you've tried them all or just a couple, what are they? And then what are some of your favorite Louis Vuitton fragrance clones as well? Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.